Hello, welcome to Boys Town. It's a beautiful sunny day finally in Boys Town. We've had so much snow and a really hard February, but today it's nice and sunny, and I'm in a special location. We have our Dow Chapel just to the west of us here, and connected to Dow Chapel was the rectory created for Father Flanagan in 1941. Father Flanagan lived here until 1948, and after Father Flanagan, our other directors up to Father Bays, who today lives in another building on campus. But when Father Flanagan moved into this residence in 1941, it was a showpiece. It was donated by a special donor, designed by the Leo Daly Company here in Omaha, and it was furnished with special furniture that was donated by his supporters across the United States, some of them being the Firestone family with the rubber plants, and other individuals. They supported Father Flanagan, and there was their gift to him when he left the old Father Flanagan home, moved over here in 1941. And I'm standing right now in the sun porch. This was Father Flanagan's sun porch created on the south side of the building. You can see today the sunlight is streaming in. Father Flanagan loved this. He could sit out here and get warm in the wintertime, and this was a special area that he loved to spend time in, because Father Flanagan loved to be outside. Part of his Irish heritage growing up in Ireland, he spent a lot of time outside. Here in Nebraska, with our extreme winters, having a beautiful sun porch like this allowed him to enjoy the sun in the wintertime. And it was used by our directors over the years for special events. The actor Pat O'Brien came and visited Boys Town, sat right in this spot right here, and was greeted by some of our children when he visited Boys Town back in the 1950s. And now we're going to step into the main part of the house, and this is Father Flanagan, would have been his reception room. And this is where guests would have come into the home, been welcomed by Father Flanagan and his family that lived here. He had his sister, Miss Nellie Flanagan, as his housekeeper, and Mr. Patrick Norton, who was the business manager, his nephew. They lived in the house with Father Flanagan. And you can see the staircase going upstairs. That's where they would have had their rooms. Upstairs, there's about 3 or 4 suites, and that's where they would have had their space. And they lived with Father Flanagan from 1941 to 1948 when he passed away. And then off of this reception room, in hallway, there was like a living room. So this would have been Father Flanagan's living room area. And over the years, he entertained special guests here, and then various directors after him, like Father Wegner, entertained Mrs. Ethel Kennedy here, and when they came to visit, and First Lady Mrs. Johnson was also entertained in these rooms. You'll notice there's not much original furniture. Over the decades, the majority of that furniture, unfortunately, is gone. What furniture was left has been moved into the Hall of History, into our special storage rooms, and it's being kept so that we can put it on display again in the future. Because these rooms today are now being used by our boys and girls as a spiritual retreat center. And that's what Father Flanagan would have advocated. He wanted space used for the boys and girls, so that's why this space is being utilized now. But the original furniture in this room, unfortunately, is long gone. But this would have been a nice sunny room again with sunlight coming in. And across the hallway would have been Father Flanagan's dining room. And this was a special room to Father Flanagan. He entertained very many important visitors here. Babe Ruth, when he came to visit, would have been in this room, had a meal with Father Flanagan. The majority of the furniture, again, has been removed. And if you come to Boys Town, it is today located up at the Father Flanagan house. So you can go inside, see the original furniture. This is the original chandelier, and we have plans in place to move it up to the Father Flanagan house. So when visitors come to the visit Boys Town, they'll actually be able to see that on display at the Father Flanagan house. Right now, you can see this is set up for our boys and girls to come in, have meetings, discuss issues, especially their spiritual life. Again, windows facing to the south. This was a nice sunny room. Father Flanagan loved sun, and that's why he wanted the house created, so that he could have that sunlight coming in at all times. And then we're back in the main hallway here, and we're going to come down another hallway and go to Father Flanagan's suite. We have the original front door to the home. There was little rooms off to the side, little study rooms that Father Flanagan had. And down this hallway, we're going to come to his private suite. While his nephew and sister had rooms upstairs, there was a special suite of rooms created for Father Flanagan. This was Father Flanagan's inner sanctum. This is where he lived, where he studied, where he wrote his prayers. He worked on his report here, dealing with his work when he went to Asia in 1947. And this is where he really came up with ideas, what he wanted Boys Town to look like in the future. In this space, he had a beautiful fireplace where he could sit by the fire in the wintertime. And he had a beautiful bay window, letting sunlight come in. And the windows looked off to the south, where he could watch the construction as the village of Boys Town grew in the 1940s. In this space, we have a special artifact. This was a gift given to Father Flanagan in 1947 when he was on his trip to Asia. A beautiful wooden box presented to him when he was in Japan. When Father Flanagan returned to Boys Town, a number of these boxes came back, and inside there were special items. This one holds a special scroll. Many of these were presented to Father Flanagan by the Japanese imperial family. And this is one of the original scrolls that would have come back. They also gave Father Flanagan a kite presented by Crown Prince Akihito, the current Emperor Akihito. And those items were here in the rectory of Father Flanagan up until he passed away. And today we have those items in the archives at the Hall of History. This room, again, would have been where Father Flanagan would have had an area to relax in his private space. And across the hallway in this room was Father Flanagan's private study. And in this study, Father Flanagan had his book collection. And he had a number of books, original first edition books. And when Father Flanagan passed away in 1948, those books were taken down to our library. So they were used in the Boys Town Library for many years. And many of these books were first editions. Well, over the years, our Boys Town Library would clean out the old books. One of the old books they cleaned out, which luckily one of our volunteers found, was this book, While England Slept, an original copy presented to Father Flanagan by John Kennedy. And it's very special because this book was actually autographed. And we have the autograph right there to Father Flanagan from Jack Kennedy. This is a very rare book because we have learned that President Kennedy eventually very rarely autographed books with his own signature. But this was given to Father because Father Flanagan knew the Kennedy family and worked on several projects with them over the decades, especially during World War II. So this book would have been in this library, eventually went to the Boys Town Library, ended up at a book sale in the city of Omaha, and one of our volunteers found it, bought it for a few dollars, brought it back to us one day. He said, "Tom, I got a special book I want to give you," and here it was, his first edition book. So over the decades, some of the original books are coming back. And again, we have them on display at the Hall of History, and we keep them over there for special purposes, and it's a special item connected to Father. We have also in this room a box, and this is the box Father Flanagan used to keep his Roman collars. And for many years, this sat in his bedroom. And his current bedroom area is unfortunately, we can't go into. It's under renovation. But this was the box that he would have had here in the rectory with him. And if you open it up, you can see where he would have had his collars kept. And so, again, this is an item that we cherish, and we have in the Hall of History in special area storage because we want to keep it for the future. This space here is a very unique space because this is where Father Flanagan thought about his theories and concepts in childcare, and he was inspired by these beautiful stained glass windows that you can see throughout the room. And if you look at these saints, these are all saints that Father Flanagan selected personally. And then there's little smaller stained glass windows, and you can see they represent children playing, and there's dogs in them, just playing with a little boat, just all different types of things a boy would play with, because Father Flanagan liked that concept of being surrounded with images of the children and what they would have done. And that's why he selected these special windows here in the chapel, in his private room. And these two windows were considered probably the most important, because we have the Immaculate Conception, what our Boys Town Chapel is named for, and that was the saint Father Flanagan selected for Boys Town. And then we have John Bosco. And John Bosco inspired Father Flanagan with his work in Italy with the homeless boys. So in his private study, he would have these two stained glass windows so that he could look at them. And they both inspired him to continue his ministry to work with children and help children. In this space, again, is unique. We have the original chandelier, the brass chandelier that has been here since 1941, that Father Flanagan would have sat underneath. In this room, too, we would have had Father's special desk, and this is where the Oscar would have sat for many years, right here on the desk. And we do have a story about one of the sisters, a nun that was his housekeeper here eventually, and she snuck in one day and she actually got to hold the Oscars. So when we interviewed her, she said, "Tom, I actually got to sneak into the room and hold the Oscars." She was so excited, but she had to do it quietly because that's Father Flanagan's special award, and no one was to touch it, and that's why he kept it in his special quarters. And this room now is being used again as an office space, and his old study is now a place where our boys and girls can come and have special counseling with issues they're having. Again, Father Flanagan be very happy that his space is being used for these purposes. And I want to thank you for joining me today and coming over and seeing this special location. And I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving, a happy St. Patrick's Day. I've got all my holidays mixed up. St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner. It was one of Father Flanagan's favorite holidays. So we want to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. And two, we want to make a special recognition to our Boys Town supporters and our staff and anyone related to Boys Town, the state of Nebraska and Iowa that is going through the terrible conditions right now we have with blizzards and floods going on. They are in our prayers, and we hope that they come out all right with this terrible conditions we're having right now. And again, thank you very much for joining us at Boys Town today. And remember, if you want us to be a supporter of Boys Town or learn more about our programs, please go to boystown.org and learn more about us. Thank you very much.